Hey guys, so welcome to my channel. Today we are on Assetto Corsa Competizione. We are of course in the Italian track of Imola, and this is a lap guide around Imola. This is a track I think generally has a very high skill gap between an experienced player and someone who's just starting out. You have to cut a lot of curbs to like really like get the max out of this track. And today in this lap guide, I'm gonna like try to clear out all the various braking points, the turning points, and how to take each curb and small tricks, tips and tricks that you can use here and there to like really like get that extra tenth out. I'm going to be focusing more on the race. I'm not going to like go into like for some techniques that we use in qualifying to get that every little tenth out because and those techniques do generally tend to punish the tires a lot. So I'm not going to focus on those, but I'm going to focus on the little things that you can do in the race that will allow you to go faster and allow you to regain maybe like multiple seconds over a race distance. So coming into turn one, you want to first pick out your braking point, and that is of course this patch of road on the right. That is where you begin braking, and you want yes, it depends. It varies a little bit from car to car. I think a car like the Mercedes can brake a lot later, but a car like the Ferrari, you generally tend to brake just at that particular point. So you brake, and then you want to start turning in around the time that this curve on the right, as it ends. That's when you want to start turning in. And of course trailing is quite important in this particular corner. You want to like really like be on the brakes and trail off the brakes. You want to like use the brakes to really push the nose of the car in so that you get a little bit more front end grip. And this corner is very reliant on the trail braking skill of the driver. The better you can trail brake, the easier and sharper you'll be able to get the car turned in, and it'll effectively help you carry more entry speed. Now once your car is turned in, the next important factor is how you take these two inside curbs for the left hander and the right hander. And this varies quite a lot from, say, car to car. Like a front engine car will definitely be able to take this curb way more aggressively than a mid engine car like the Ferrari. I think a Bentley can practically like completely jump over this curb, but the mid engine car like the Ferrari, the limit is generally that the front wheels can mount the curb. But if you reach a point, for example, if you imagine, say, this is the Ferrari's front wheels. The curb can be at this point, but if you end up in a state where the curb is between your front wheels, you will end up unsettling the car and you might spin out and probably end up in the gravel trap. So that's about the limit, but it can vary with setup. I think maybe if you jack up the car or increase your bump stop range, you can take this curb more aggressively, but with a setup that is like intermediate, I would say. I feel this is a limit with how much you can mount this particular curve. So now coming on to, so we cross the left-hander. So notice how immediately after I cross the left-hander, I'm fully on throttle. Now this is where like you need to pay attention to the weight transfer of the car. So pretty basic that cars are like seesaws. Basically, when they accelerate, their rear will be like will be lower, and their front will be higher. And similarly, when they're braking or like when they have off throttle moments, this weight will shift, say, to maybe a little bit more like forward, like leaning position. So this is you need to understand this when you're taking this particular next corner, and that is that you want your rear to be squatting down and you want your fronts to be like turned up. The reason is that compared to the last corner, you're going to be taking this corner at a much higher speed. The curves, especially if you have the fronts leaning down, and if you take that particular curve, the front still like loaded up, that's going to cause it to become unsettled. So essentially, being on full power allows you to shift all that weight to the rear, and that essentially allow you to attack this curve quite a lot. Along with that, the car will be leaning more towards the left than the right. So that means that your outside wheels are going to be not that heavily loaded. So that will allow means that you can glide over these curves without the car being affected too much. Of course, once again, this is for mid-engine cars. A front-engine car is going to be a lot more forgiving over these particular curves. So now, so if you get these two corners right, this should be pretty easy flat. But of course, but one thing that you can pay attention here is that don't apply too much steering lock, because if you apply too much steering lock, you're going to scrub a lot of speed on the exit, and that's gonna cost you more time because there is a little bit of a short straight through this section. Now, coming into this corner, this is a tricky one because there is no obvious braking marker. It's not the 50-meter board, it's not the curb starter, or it's not the curb end. So you kind of have to use a lot of reference points to really pick out what is the correct braking point over here. What I personally do is that I I basically like try to like measure the size of this curve with respect to my vision when it's like a particular size with how I see it. That's when I start to brake. And but you can use a lot of breaking points here. Like I can already pick out, so you can say you can break around the time when you say cross, like say when you have around say this 30% or this portion of this curve left, you can perhaps look at this patch of dust, or you can use maybe like when this white line disappears in the periphery of your vision. So there are a lot of options in terms of breaking points. Of course, like it depends on personal preference. I prefer to use that curve inside curve as a reference. Because I prefer to like be looking at the corner. I don't want something that's like way too far off from the corner itself, because I'll have to shift my focus from one section to another. So I prefer to use that inside curve, but it can vary from person to person, of course. So let's not forget that everyone has their choices. Now, same as before, you want to take this curb. With this car, the limit is of course the front wheels mounting that curb. And when you're talking about braking for the chicane, you want to brake in two phases. You want to brake once for the left. You really want to consider like measure out exactly how much you want to brake for the first chicane. If you don't want to brake too much in a way that you have to accelerate to accelerate for the before the right and then brake again for the right. You don't want to do that. There's really not that much room to like play to have a application of the accelerator in between these two corners. It's better to just brake once for the left and then brake again for the right. So you can say brake again for the right here, and then after that, you want to get on power nice and early here. I don't get on power as early as I would have liked, so I do unsettle my car a little bit on the exit. But we still get a decent run through the exit, and we are now on to the Tosa hairpin. Now, over here, the braking point is just as this 50-meter board crosses the periphery of your vision. It's not this road or it's not 50 meters. It's actually like it's actually a little bit afterwards that you can kind of say it's around here. Oops, my bad. It's around here. That's when you want to brake. So you can kind of measure that out by looking at when this particular road like disappears in the periphery of your vision. So that's when you start to brake. So observe the shape of this corner. If you notice, it's actually cambered in. And what that means is that you can actually let go of the brakes very early, carry a lot of speed on entry, and you want to get on throttle quite nice and early because you want to use the diff to rotate the car onto the exit. This allows you to have quite a good exit, and as well as the cambered nature of the corner will turn your car in quite at a pretty well as well. And of course, use all the track on the exit. This allows you to of course get a nice and quick exit, allowing you to maximize your run down the straight. And now coming into this corner, I think this turn 9, popularly called as Piratella. Another tricky corner. If you don't brake enough, you're going to like go off track, and if you don't brake too much, you're going to like not carry enough speed to the corner. This is a corner that takes, I think, this is a corner I think that takes a lot of time to really understand its dynamics and how to maximize. So the braking point. So let's once again break down the braking point. You want to like brake when this 50-meter board disappears in the periphery of your vision. That's when you start to brake. That's when you start to brake. And alternative braking point is that you can see this dusty patch over here. You can start braking like just before the dusty patch. That would also be a decent brake marker. So pick whatever works for you and brake. And once again, you want to like measure out exactly when you come off the brakes. That takes quite a lot of experience to really understand. And then you want to like really go as wide as you can as you possibly can. I don't really maximize the exit here, but the red strip is the limit of the track here. And then of course we are now down to Aquaman Rally. Now this is a pretty tricky section of the track. So I can break it down like this, alright? So you want to start lifting off the throttle once you cross the 50-meter board. You want to start braking at this kink. I tend to have like a 10% input at this point, and then you want to brake in a straight line all the way to the apex there. So now let's break it down. So you can see I left off completely here. I start turning in. I take this curve. It does unsettle my car a little bit, but the key here is that at this point, straighten your wheel and just go fully on the brakes. Because you might have some instability depending on car to car, but the key here is that you want to be straight here. Whatever corrections you're feeling from the wheel, try to fight it. Hold your wheel straight and just brake as straight as you can. And you want to start braking around the time. You want to stop braking around the time you see that black patch disappear on the on the AstroTurf there. That's when you like stop braking, and then you can start turning in for the next corner. So over here, once you can take the apex, and once you cross the apex, go fully on power. Pretty simple corner, but important to maximize the track limit here. Once again, the track limit is that red strip on the Italian flag, and once you have that, you can go full throttle. Now, coming into Variante Alta, this is of course another technical part of the track where you need to know exactly how to approach this corner. If you can cut the chicane the right way, you can gain around 5 to 6 tenths, maybe more, if depending on how you're taking it before. So pretty simple. You brake where the curb on the left starts. That's when you start braking. Yep. So when this curb starts, that's when you begin the braking phase. Now, the key part is your angle into the corner. You want to start turning in quite early, carry quite a shallow line. As you can see, nearly like nearly the entirety of my car is actually off the circuit at this point. So that's how much you have to cut it. I think if your entire car is like on the curb, it gets unsettled. Like you basically still need like one wheel, like your left wheel should be like following the border of the curb here, like of the border of the curb, as in the if I go back a little bit here, so you can see this Italian flag curb. Like I think your left wheel will virtually be following that, and as once both your front wheels have traversed the initial curb, you can start turning left now. The same logic as before. So now your right wheel will be following that Italian flag curb, and then same as before. So you're at this point after your right turn. Generally speaking, your car will start to overtake, like because of how the nature of that curb is. Your car is going to be a little bit slidey. Of course, once again, depends on your setup. Keep that in mind. And what you need to do is essentially like you need to focus on the timing of the throttle. You need to know that before your car starts to go into a slide, if you go on the throttle at the right point, it will shift the weight of the car rearwards, and it'll prevent that slide from occurring in the first place. Yep, so this should be pretty straightforward. And then of course, once again, know your track limits. And in this particular case, the track limit is once again the red line on the Italian flag. So I didn't really go fully to the right as much as I could have, but ideally speaking, you should try to get as close to it as you can, whether in quali or race. Yep, after that we go straight. Now onto the double left-hander of Ribazza. So this corner, I see a lot of people like really attack this corner to maximize the braking. But to be frank, this is a corner where like it's better to brake a little early. It's downhill, so when you brake later, you're likely to make a fuck up. So what I would recommend is brake a little bit earlier, like just brake just before the 100 meters. Control your exit. You'll gain a lot more by having a better exit onto the straight. So now braking just before the 100. I think I broke at the 100 here, this particular case. And same as earlier, you start turning in when that curve on the right is it's around like 10%, 20% left. You can really mount this curve on the inside here. All cars, like there's no sausage curve here, so you can go pretty much wide. And then you want to go as wide as possible on that AstroTurf on the right, but not hit the gravel, of course. In my particular case, a let you need a tiny tap on the brakes there to just push the nose in and get the don't need require. But then similar to Tosa, you can actually kind of like get on the power quite early and use the differential of the car to like get it rotated. Yep. Once again, maximize all the track on the limit. Don't clip the gravel, and you go straight on. And that's lap around Imola in Assetto Corsa Competizione. I have my race setup linked in the description below, so if you would like to use it and try it out, feel free. And of course, I'm always open to feedback. So that's it for my Imola video. Hopefully all of you guys liked it. I wanted to do like a little bit more detail, like with a step by step, but I felt more personal with this format where I go through my own onboard and try to annotate. I felt that was a little bit more personal for like, because for people who would like to like get an in-depth idea of how to like really maximize this particular track. So hopefully you guys liked your video. Stay tuned. I might do a few more videos later on. And of course, leave a like and of course, subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much.